Do-do-do-do. Hello everybody, my name is RODGON. I am an artist and today I am going to draw with you. So as I get ready and I put on my nifty glove and I clean my lens because I didn't do this before this live started. Boom, pretty. We're going to be drawing today with a simple Bic pen. These are not expensive. You guys can get these at any store. There's nothing fancy about these. We are going to be playing with some watercolors. This is a nice little travel set, but it doesn't have to be one of these. It can be a cheap one for 99 cents at the dollar store. No longer dollar store, it's like $1.25 now, but this and this work exactly the same. Okay? I actually like the color palette more on the dollar one than this one. If I'm being honest. This one's just traveling. So, and we might play with some highlighters. These don't have to be any brand. They can be any brand. Highlighters just go really nicely with ballpoint pen. Watercolors go really nicely with ballpoint pen. I'm going to show you guys some pages of the sketchbook. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to draw today. Okay, so you got to decide on what we want to teach and what we want to learn. I don't normally come prepared with a lesson. I let you guys choose what you guys want to learn every single day. So whenever you sign in really early on in the stream, you get to ask questions. And normally those questions are the ones that we take. I don't normally post and start streaming at the same time any day. So it's kind of like a luck thing. Okay, you're kind of gambling. So if you ever see me there, jump in, ask a question that you really want answered, and odds are if I see it, I'll be able to answer it. We went over animals the other day. We went over a little bit of my life and what I like and don't like. I was really sad the other day, so I just drew that, and I was really, really sad. So I draw when I'm sad, and it helps me not be sad anymore. Okay? And then we went over faces, and I try to do like little tiny tutorials as to how to use perspective and why it's important whenever you are drawing. How you can use perspective to create a character, and how you combine basic shapes to create the awesome shapes that we draw. Okay? So that is one thing that I drew this weekend when I was in Vegas, because I absolutely have realized I am not a nighttime person. I don't do partying very well, and I am absolutely bored to death with drinking and the party scene. It's just so incredibly boring to me. So today, we need a theme, and while you guys choose a theme, because no one has had a theme yet, I am going to draw myself being bored out of my mind in Vegas. Okay? I'm just going to draw myself being bored in Vegas as we use our awesome finger zoom skills. Bloop, 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 bloop. Halloween? Oh, we can draw spooky stuff. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, okay. We're going to draw spooky stuff today. Spooky stuff. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Especially with, well, Halloween's not coming up anytime soon, but, you know, who doesn't love a good spooky thing? So we can talk about that. So, spooky is kind of like something that would be like horror, but maybe not so horrific. So, I would categorize anything that you see that's like cutesy, but not necessarily like all that like adorable or like innocent as spooky. So, let's see if we can come up with some things. Well, whenever you have two elements in your work, right? There's two ways that you can do your line work. You can either do it clean or super clean, kind of clean, messy, sketchy, or really sketchy. Okay? So this also isn't just a linear thing for inking. It goes from like nice to creepy. Okay? This is a gradient from like kind and nice and sweet to creepy as hell. Because the more that you keep on adding lines and distress lines, the more your brain starts going like, oh my God, what's going on here? Why is it so chaotic? So that's what happens with your line work too. And you can use that to your advantage. Okay. So there's a reason that whenever something's really clean as well, it looks, I don't know, let's say corporate, professional, right? Pro, as we associate. And then the messier we tend to associate with amateurish. That is an absolute piece of garbage scale. You just you can't think like that, because somebody that has really clean line work can still be an amateur. Someone that has really messy work can be a professional and still have like absolute amazing work like under his belt, right? So we don't, like, that's one way you should not think. Now, the way that I like to see it and the way that I implement it into my work most of the time is that each one of these is a tool. I use all aspects of these. I don't see myself as an individual one. I know exactly where each one is needed. And then you implement that into your work. So it's not about learning how to be cleaner or messier. It's about learning what each one of them brings to the table, and then we apply that to our work. Okay? So, since we're going to go with spooky, we don't want to go super dark and super like creepy, so we don't want to add an exaggerated amount of lines, but we also don't want to be super, super clean, because this would be like the cutesy side too. Okay? Cutesy and creepy would be like, opposites. So, if we want spooky, I'd say we would go around this area right here. Right in the middle. You get a little bit of cute, but you also get a little bit of creepy. We'll keep that in mind as we go along, and especially with the eyes. Especially with the eyes, this is going, and if anything has fur, that's going to play a role. Okay? So we're going to be using our line work for that. So I'm going to keep things even messier than I normally do. And I'm going to purposely make sure that whenever I'm adding thick to thin lines, like at the bottom of the jaw, where the light would, we also have to identify a light source, okay? Our light is going to be coming from this direction, and it's going to be directional, like an omni light. So it's going to be like the sun. So all the light is going to be coming from one direction, instead of a spotlight that creates light in a cone. So it's going to keep it easy for us to understand some basic concepts. Light is hitting down. When you're inking, the lines that would create a shadow, in this case, the ones on this side of the shape, are going to be darker to give the idea or the illusion of shadows. You add a little bit more shadow, like a cast shadow. So this is the shadow that the chin is casting on the actual neck. And the neck is a round object, so normally the shadows kind of go around it, right? The neck is a relative cylinderish shape, and the base shape of anatomy, that's what it is. So it creates this cast shadow, but it goes around it. So there's a slight curvature right there, okay? Then the rest of the head would still, it's an oversized head, so you'd still have a little bit more shadow. Now, you notice that the bottom of the ears are also darker, because it would also be the part of the ear that gets the shadow. So that side is a little bit darker. It's a little bit thicker. And that's what people say when you say thick to thin line work. They go from thin to thick. Okay? Thin and thick parts to each part of your stroke. You can do this really easily with a brush pen, but it's something that has to be integral to your drawing. Your sketching requires this. If you're sketching anything, really, if you want to give it depth, you need to be able to understand thick to thin lines. Now, because, for example, this thick to thin going into another thick to thin, into another, into another, into another, what does that start looking like? More thick to thin lines for your eyelashes. And you end up, just by drawing those little thick to thin lines, you can end up with something really cool, really quick, and with a lot of depth. Okay? So, master these, but the way that you master these is by understanding how and why you are drawing them. Understanding what you draw is an absolute must. Absolute must. Like, don't try to practice drawing a style. Practice drawing and understanding what you're drawing, deconstruct it so that you can take those, like, rules that you learn while you deconstruct it and you make your own style out of it. Because once you know how to draw an eye, you can draw an eye in any style you want. Oh, you want some anime eyes? Anime eyes is just an eyeball with the slit being more like open. Well, this is more like a classic anime look, as opposed to the stuff that they have now. But I grew up with that, so I learned how to draw, eyes like that. This and this is exactly the same thing. It's only that the eyelid and the slit for the eye is a little bit different. Behind this, there's an eyeball. Behind this, there's an eyeball. Right? So this eyeball is just an eyeball, with the inside of the eye color like this. Or, yeah, like whatever shape I did. And then this one is an eyeball with this inside and slit. It's just changing the inside. The eyelid can be, I can put this eyelid on this one and it's going to look kind of cool too. And then I can put this opening of the eyelid on this one as an anime look. And it's going to give you that anime look. Understand what you're drawing, and then you can deconstruct it in any way you want. It's not an exact replica of an anime look, but I hope that you understand and start, what I'm trying to say, as opposed to trying to find the flaw in what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay? Now, there's always going to be someone that's a critic. Just pay attention, try to implement it, and before you put it down, try it. If you're stuck on your own ways and you don't see any growth, maybe changing your things how you see things a little might change. And I am going to just assume that if you follow what what I'm doing here, and you take the time to actually click on that live feed, and you do know what I do, because I teach people how to draw, that you might actually maybe think that I know a little bit of what I'm saying. But no, man, I'm sure that you know better. So let's go follow history. Okay, so this process of the mask is one that I've explained in pretty much every video that I do. It's the way that I like to draw my faces. In this case, I draw a mask around, and I'll highlight that because that's gonna be an important factor. Should we use highlighter or watercolors today? Let's just use watercolors. Okay. So we're gonna start walking through our sections of our face as we draw it, and then explain why things will look creepy, spooky, and not. And in this case, I'm only gonna do it with the eyes. The eyes are going to be the one thing that is super spooky in this one. Okay. All right. So we will. That is the shape that I initially draw on the face. And the reason that I draw that is because it represents a couple points in actual human and actual anatomy. So this point at the top where I drew the eyebrows is, my temples, my brow line. So it gives me the edge from the edge of the tip to the edge of whatever size head I want. If I want a wider head, not that styling, if it still gives you the temple. Regardless of how wide and what shape you make your head, this gives you the temple if you draw a mask. You go around, and then this gap right here is going to give you where your nose is going to position. It's going to be the bottom of your cheekbones, and it's going to give you your nose canal. The nose canal, this goes up depending on where your nose bridge is. So if your nose bridge breaks right here, you draw this shape here. If you have a really high nose bridge, you make the mask shape up here. So it gets you thinking about your actual structure instead of just, going crazy. And let me just draw a couple examples so you guys can understand. We're just going to draw them on a simple, circular face. Okay? We'll do a couple, little 4. There you go. Really quick ones. This one is going to be just a normal little mask shape. Yay! This one's going to have a super, big nose. So we want to have that nose bridge part really high. Right? Because the nose is going to be super big. And this one will have someone that has, an evil, smirk. So we want that eyebrow down, the other eyebrow up, and the nose. And then this one will be just a person with a really tiny head, a really big head, but really tiny features. So we're going to have our mask like that. From here, knowing the points that I just mentioned, that's the temple, that's the bottom of the cheekbone, and that's our nose bridge. So we can mask our temples right away. Immediately we know the side of the face. From here to wherever your chin is going to be, from the bottom of your cheekbones, you create a little triangle. This triangle is going to give you exact positioning for your chin. Then you proceed to go from the inside part of your mask and trace your nose bridge. Just trace the nose bridge on both sides. And that's going to give you your eye sockets. What goes inside the eye sockets? Your eyeballs. So you can draw big eyeballs if you want to, like a cartoon character. You can draw little tiny eyeballs. You can draw really, I don't know, 2 different size eyeballs if you want. Or you can just draw, let's just give this guy this size, because I don't think there's that many more sizes of eyeballs I can do. Okay, so you have your eyeballs now. You have the side of your face. You have the front of your face, where your nose and your mouth have to go. You know that this is your cheekbone, so your mouth can't go past this area, because it goes underneath your cheekbone. And that's why you get those mouths that have this, because that's your cheek. So your mouth can go past that, but it stops at your cheek. So you can't see it, and it creates a crease. That's what that cheekbone area is. That's where you add your cheeks. Now, we'll just keep the mouth and the nose simple, because I've done videos on those, and you guys can go watch those. They're on YouTube. All of them are YouTube. Just go on YouTube. Just go watch a couple streams, and you guys will see it. So we're gonna draw our diamond nose, because that's the way that I draw my noses. I map them out. This one's just gonna be normal. This one we said is gonna be a big honker, right? So we're gonna draw a big diamond in that area. This one is pointing down a little bit, so we're gonna have maybe a really long nose, but like Pinocchio or something. So our diamond would be a little longer. And you wouldn't see the bottom of the diamond because the diamond's pointing down, right? If a diamond is pointing down, you don't see the bottom of it. But as long as you start rotating up, you start seeing a little bit more each time. Right? So we're not going to focus too much on the bottom part of that one. And then this one, we'll just draw a little tiny nose, because this guy's features are tiny. So in each one of these, we have the same concept, right? And we're going to draw each one of these in a different style too, so you guys can understand how this is not just a style guide, it's a structure guide. Yeah? This will help you with any of your styles, because it's going to help you map out things accurately. It's just a way of subdividing the features so that you understand where everything's going to land really quickly. Okay? Okay. So, structure over style. Every time. Structure should supersede style in everything you do. And that is why it's so important to understand anatomy and perspective. So many people dismiss that stuff, like, oh, it's boring. I don't want to learn how to draw every muscle. It's like, dude, if you know how to draw every muscle, there's nothing you can't draw. Like, there's no character you can't draw. While we wait for this to dry, I'm just going to fill in a little bit while I rant, okay? So, yeah, it's like learning how something's... And I fell into this trap. And I fell into that trap for like 15 years of my career. I honestly can tell you that I didn't see an exponential growth in my career until I started thinking like that. And then I saw such an intense rush of like just, it clicks. Oh my God. Now this clicks. Now I understand this. Now I understand this. Like, once you start taking the time and not be stubborn and you start thinking, hey, maybe everybody's saying anatomy and perspective are most important features for a reason. Why is it that every successful artist is really good at those two things? Oh man, comic book artists don't need to know how to do perspective. Yeah, you do, because you need that perspective to be able to draw different faces, different poses. Perspective's not just about buildings. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to draw in the style that I like to draw. So I normally, for my eyes, for my own personal style, I like just drawing a thicker line for the top of my eyes in a very animation-like style with just a pupil. Nothing complex. I like to keep my doodles simple because then I can tell more stories. Okay? And it applies to animals. It applies to even my own little doodles that I do to teach. Right? Keeping it simple for me is the most like easy thing, and I can create without worrying about detail at all. I can tell my stories, I can tell my comics, I can tell my journal entries, I can journal my life very easy because I don't have to worry so much about getting it perfect. It's just literally easiest style to do because you don't do anything except add the line weight, right? So this looks appealing because it has line weight. If I just drew the eye like this, it'd still look okay maybe, but compare that to just simply adding a little bit of thick to thin lines. Like, the difference is in like gigantic, and it's just the same actual shape. So imagine if you apply those little simple rules to everything else. So let's see. The mask shape as well is, I think the reason that I ended up liking it so much as well is because it gives me my glasses already. It literally maps out exactly where my glasses need to go. So since I draw myself all the time, ta-da! That was just like a simple, way to do it. Let's draw this guy. Let's say a bit like a comic bookish type of character. Okay. So in comic books, you normally don't see too much detail on drawings this size on the eyes. So you end up just seeing like slits or shadows. Okay. They normally tend to have very heavy eyebrow lines if it's like a superhero or a thug. And they end up having a lot more detail to the anatomy of features, like the sides of the nose and shadows. We tend to have a lot more like areas that are just black. Anything that's just like a shadow gets like a black feature, like a Batman or something, The chins tend to be like gigantic, and then they have like a lot of features like the side, like it's gonna be like a pirate. Maybe they'll have like different proportions because they're more like anatomically correct, so you have to extend the head a little bit far back so it's not so cartoony. Like, and then you keep on adding and adding. As long as you will know when if you don't understand how much detail you're putting in, that's because you don't understand to a higher degree where things go. So what happens to a lot of people is they go and like they start, for example, this is a perfect measure of how much you understand lighting. Lighting, take a life drawing, look at a portrait, right? Look at someone's face and draw it. The moment that you lose the ability to know what more to add to make it more real, that is where your gap is. That's where your wall is. Okay. So once you hit that wall, you need to actually self-reflect and be like, okay, what is it that I'm not understanding? Am I not getting the super sharp lines that other people get? Am I not getting the right like shadows? Am I not looking at light the right way? Am I not applying the right technique? All those things come into play whenever you get to that level. How many of you would actually take the time to think like that, though? Right? How many of us actually take the time to be like, okay, that's where my flaw is. Why do I have that flaw? We normally tend to wait until someone else tells us, or like you ask for portfolio reviews and you ask for like feedback and all that stuff. Well, all that is already out there for you. Like, the internet is literally the only thing you need in the will and the time and the dedication to practice what you see online. There are so many resources nowadays that it's it's very like upsetting sometimes when people ask things that can be just simply asked to Google and explain them a million times better than I could possibly ever do it. Because a person that takes the time to come ask me for that normally should have already taken the time to try to understand it and figure it out themselves first. Then if you can't figure it out, then that's when you reach out to your mentors. Because we're here to explain things that you can't figure out on your own. We're not here to solve all your problems. I'm not here to like teach you exactly how to do everything. I'm here to teach you how to do the difficult things so that you guys can, surpass those walls that you guys see. All right, so let's say we had like a superhero like Nightwing, like Papa. And then this one, we'll just make it like super cartoony, like, yay. He'll be like super chubby. You won't even see his neck. I mean, he looks like the guy from Lilo and Stitch that loses his ice cream all the time. So he has like little rolls. And that guy has sunglasses, right? Eyebrow line. Okay. So, as you can see, you can apply that to a multitude of different like ways, styles, and essentially just apply that concept so that you can map out your things better. Okay, let's continue on with the spooky lesson because we kind of like lost track and we just ended up going into like line weight lessons, which I guess it's still good though. So we can do spooky and line weight. All right, so going back to our character. Right now, he doesn't really have a persona. He doesn't have a personality. He doesn't have anything like that. We haven't really played with much of the line weight, so we're still within this area right here. Okay, we haven't really like made it sketchy enough to consider it a little bit more creepy, but we're still kind of in the base sketch area. Now, I'm going to start adding details and notice how much creepier it starts looking just by me adding those details, okay? So, at this point, we're just going to give them eyes. To make up a little bit more creepy, we're not going to have the same size eyes. One's going to be different, adding chaos, okay? Remember, the eye is literally just, what we see of the eye is just the eyelid opening around the eye. So this big eyeball is still here, right? It's still here. You just don't see it because you're only seeing this area instead of the whole eye being open. So whenever I'm drawing this, I already have my eyelid. it already gives me my perfect eyelid. Because and the bottom eyelid too, because all you do is trace around it. It's your eyeball right there. Okay, so now you have your upper eyelid, your lower eyelid, and we have our eye like slit that has eyelashes. So we draw a little bit darker line going around the shape, around it like a globe. We trace around the shape. Okay, we don't just draw a shape, we trace around our shapes. We're seeing 3D elements. 3D, it goes around, has a front and a back, has a surface. Okay, if this was a planet, you could take any of these sections and pull it out and make them the poles, right? And then the other side. So exercises like these are really, really good for you if you don't understand what I'm doing. Trace around your objects and imagine that you're putting rubber bands on them. So if you have like a cube, let's do it over here. If you have like a cube, right? Boom, 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 boom. And you were putting a rubber band on it, like drawing it on it, you'd be like, okay, it hits here and then it goes down and then it goes around back and then it comes back up. All right, let's do one this way. It's going to go this way, then it's going to go down, then it's going to go around and connect back up. And as long as you keep practicing these subdivisions going in different directions with different shapes, it would be different. With a cone, it would be just going around the cone, going up and down the cone, across the cone, and going back up. Okay? Having a definite bottom and a top. With cylinders, it would be drawing cylinders, drawing around, finding, you can even make it cooler and then just set like a little dot that you have to match on the other side. And that's how you figure out your ears. That's how you figure out your ankles. Like if you're drawing an ankle, you need to know that so you can know both sides of the ankle and then be able to trace shapes to create feet. Okay? That's what that does. It helps you with figuring out going around the eye and creating an eye that can go in any direction you want. Okay? So that is why it's important to understand basic perspective so you can do that. So that whenever you're drawing your characters in your drawings, you understand that this is a sphere. This goes around to create the illusion that you're drawing something that actually exists and not just stylize something to look cool. Okay, so now that we have our base eyes, we're going to take into consideration the eyes as well. The smaller the pupil and the least forward facing it is, the creepier it's gonna look. Okay, so if we just draw him looking in two different directions with really tiny pupils, it's gonna look a little bit like weird, like he's like already like starting to be zombie-ish, right? And then we apply the principle of sketchiness to creepy. And then I'm just gonna add a couple distress lines inside to make it even more distressed. And then since I want the eye to be really distressed, I'm just gonna add a lot more. So I'm going to go up to here with the eye because that's gonna be like the most creepy part. So I'm just gonna add some lines to make it sketchy, to make it look like it's more sunken into the eye than I thought before. And the more you start adding lines, the more it starts adding personality to it. And it starts adding this kind of personality to it, like a creepier one. And do the same thing with the other side. I'm just going to add like a bunch. We're going to sink in the eye into the eye socket more by creating this negative space. So we add a little bit of a shadow to this underside because this underside is going into where the eyeball is. So it creates a shadow normally, but since we're going with creepy, we're just going to give it even extra. These are spheres. So when you're shading your eyelid, it's just a sphere with a slit inside. Okay, so when the light hits it from this direction, it's going to be just like you are lighting your just normal spheres, like whenever you're drawing and practicing your lighting. Okay, it's the same concept. It just applies to a different type of texture than glass or anything, but it's still creating that shadow and those, highlights depending on where the light is coming from. We decided the light was going to come from here. The eyeball as well has that spherical shape, so we give it a little bit of indication of light. Not too much because you don't want to make it too dark, but we still have to give that indication. Okay, so now as we move down the face, we have to realize that the nose bridge has width, right? So our nose bridge is going to have a little bit of width. It's going to be circular. Or you can give it a top and a side. Again, this is just a box. It's literally just, or like a little cone going down your nose. It's going to have a side, or you can draw them like boxes if you prefer. Okay? So imagine that's your eye, and your nose bridge has to come from there. So your nose bridge normally breaks into your forehead around your eye section. Like around the middle of your eye, a little bit on top of your eye. This is where it goes into your forehead, into your brow line. So from here, or wherever you set your mask to be, that would be your break. And then you create your nose bridge, which is the middle of your nose. You can just draw a line, like a midline, and then add to the sides if you want. Again, if you can identify the middle of it, you can identify that it has sides. And then just indicate how big of a nose bridge you want, and then create your diamond shape so you can define the top and the bottom. We're going to go with creepy, so we're going to add a little bit more lines as we go down the shape. I'm going to create heavier shadows from the nose hitting down onto my lip because the light is hitting from this direction. So I'm just going to thicken those lines right there, creating a cast shadow. The cast shadow would be stopped by the cheek. So it would hit and then it would change direction. So it would just kind of lose its shape right there. Then from here, we go down to our mouths. We decided that from the end of our mask to our chin, we just draw a line and it creates our area for our mouth. And it also maps out the last part of the side of our face. Then from there, I want to make it a little creepy, so I'm just going to give it like like I'm sick, I caught something, type thing. Remember, we talked that our cheek muscle, our cheek skin, tends to stop, like make the end of our mouth stop. Even if our mouth went all the way out here, it would stop there because it can't be on top of your cheekbone. It literally can't. Like, feel your face. Open your mouth. Like, smile as wide as you can right now. Smile like super wide and see how the skin of your cheek folds over your mouth. You start seeing that crevice right here. Okay? This is your cheek muscle. Like, the cheek muscle goes on top of your cheekbone. Okay, so it's a little spherical shape right here. That's where your cheek muscle is. So that stops your mouth because the cheek muscle, the skin from the cheek muscle, tends to drape onto your chin. And that's when you're old, and you're really, really old, you end up looking more like this. Right? You end up looking more like that. Because those cheek skin and bone and muscles tend to sag. So when you smile, your mouth, even if you have a super big smile, you don't see it because your cheek and your cheek skin and your cheek muscle stop it from being shown. So that's what we're going to apply here. I'm going to add a little. The line that I'm adding here is just because there's roundness to the lip, and it would create a little divot. That is why I add that line. I don't add that to add style. I add that so I can create the illusion of shadow. Okay? So lips are a very difficult part to learn to draw. And we did talk about lips a couple of weeks ago when we talked about mouths, I think. That one's on YouTube for sure. Yeah, we talked about mouths and we talked about like facial features. Where is it? There you go. Yeah, we were talking about lips and how to like draw them in different perspectives. Same concept, right? And then how to apply noses in different perspectives by just drawing noses around a sphere. And yeah, we went about like a bunch of like features here. So if you guys actually want to go check it out, hey, it's free. Why wouldn't you, right? Okay, so let's see. Going back to our lesson. Now, you guys might notice that the forehead might be a little bit too big for this character. Absolutely, it is. It's a cartoon. It's doesn't really matter. It's fine. But if you ever want to change any drawing that you have and it's just a sketch, and especially if you're drawing with pen, just use a Post-it. I love Post-its. As a matter of fact, I use Post-its regardless. And then if I don't like that, I'm like, yeah, I can map it out. I'm like, okay, maybe like that. Nah, even less. Okay, let's go here. Right? Or you can add features to your characters as well. Like, let's say they didn't like the mouth, but I want to see what it's going to look like with my mustache. I can very quickly map it out without ruining my sketch or having to take a picture and do it digitally. I'm like, all right, which one looks better? Okay, let's see. And then if I like it, I just leave it on there and I tape it. It's like the simplest way to fix your sketches. And it takes like no time at all. Do I have any examples here? No, I don't think. Oh yeah, I do. Even with client work, I do it all the time. Like all the time. I think I covered a bad sketch with that one. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just a very easy way for you to like do that. Okay, so to add to the creepiness factor here in the mouth, we're going to add even more distress lines. We're going to make the bottom eyelid come up a little bit so it creates more of like a closed lid shape. And now I'm just looking like I'm a drug addict or something, but it's okay. That's still a little creepy. Okay, if we go up to the forehead, remember the forehead is going to have your hairline as well. So you got to determine, like, first of all, in the style that you chose, if this is your brow line is not going to be far away from your eyebrows, but it's also not incredibly far away from your eyes. So if you have a situation where your brow line is really far away from each other, you got to take that into consideration, because if you draw the hairline on this guy like up here, it's going to look really weird. When in comparison, you should be taking into consideration how far away your hairline is from your actual eyes. So you just have to make sure that it's above your brow line so that you create a character that has... Actually, I don't like that size of the head either, so... Okay, we adjusted it to there. I like that. So I'm going to have my hairline a little bit, tiny bit above my brow line. And it's going to seem like he has a relatively small forehead, but not really, because he's really not supposed to have this incredible gap. That's just more because it's a very cartoony look. Right? So you still have to like gauge and measure all that stuff. And the way that I like to do it is I first imagine if the character has a hat. How would it look? Because that normally makes sense, right? Like if you have a hat, it would sit exactly where your hairline would sit. So if we do that to our other guys over here, if we gave this guy a hat, he has a really big head, so it would just go from ear to ear. So let's say the front of the hat or the back of the hat. So that's roughly where my hairline would be. And this guy would be above here. Here, he's more boxy than the other one, so it would change a little bit different. But you'd still see a hat, and that'd be roughly where his hairline is. Mr. Old Guy. If you gave him a hat, a backwards hat, and that's roughly as high as your hair should go as well if you have like long hair, by the way. Imagine that you have a hat, and that's normally as high as you would want it. Wow, this guy has glorious hair now. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh. Oh, stop it, boys. With the pinky up. Oh, stop it. Little old me. Okay, so yeah. So that's roughly what you do whenever you are, doing that. Let's try a couple examples with little cute characters. Let's draw a really cute little character right here, and then we'll draw him in spooky version. And we're going to start with just a little beanbag. Okay, I'm going to allow you guys to suggest what little animal we draw. Hold on. Somebody is calling. I'm going to have to decline them. Okay, so we have two spooky characters. Let's see. A cute bat? Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's make a little bat then. Okay, so we're going to have a base for that and a base sketch part for his wings. I believe they have big ears, so we're going to give them big ears. And they have like a little like mousy snout, right? I think. So we're going to give them a little, that's going to be their head, bodies, and their little limbs. I don't know exactly. I know that they look like little rats. So we're just going to have like roughly these proportions. Do they have tails? I don't think they have tails. But I think they have like really like long fingers. Oh no, their wings are their hands. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we'll keep it like that. We're going to give it our little mask to make sure that we know what perspective we want to draw them in. They can also really easily determine what direction your face will turn. Like incredibly easy to tell what direction to draw them in. You carve out your nose bridge to create the illusion of depth into your cavity. Then we draw whatever size of our head we want. In this case, maybe let's give them like a really nice round forehead going around our mask. And then we got to start taking into consideration the differences that these two are going to have. So, for example, if we're going to make one a little bit creepier than the other, let's say this one, we're going to keep it nice, a little bit cleaner. So we're going to have nice rounded shapes. They might have like a little point or two, but you still have really rounded shapes, fairly cleanish lines. Not a lot of distress going on. And then even the wings maybe would be a little bit rounder, a little bit like less creepy. Okay, and then that'd be like going into his little legs, which would be a little bit more round. Round shapes will be the opposite. Nice, clean, round shapes are always going to be the opposite of very creepy lines. All right, so we have that. We have the little belly. And let's give it a little color. Kind of looks like a chicken bird, but it's okay. For memory, I'm not going to complain. For the eyes, I'm going to make them nice and wide, nice and big. So it gives it a nice little cute look. Big pupils. bigger pupils. We want to make them adorable, right? Like, oh, like throw up adorable. And then we're going to have like his little features. Like a nice little jelly bean or something. Give him a little tuft of hair. And maybe he'll have his mouth open because we left a little bit of space right there. Middle eyebrows. Everything nice and clean and like smooth. Yay, so we have a little Batsy right here. Okay, so now whenever you're like looking at something that has to be creepier, we're gonna give more jaggedy lines, more shadows, more harsh edges, more distressed lines. The fur would not be like smooth, it would just be like all over the place. So you'd see distressed lines all over. The wings, I'm going to just make them a little bit more lower because I don't want it to crash into that one, but it would be more jagged. Just more chaos. More distressed lines all over. Right? Even the fur on the belly can just be like jaggedy and stuff. And then the feet again, instead of being nice round shapes, could just be like the fur like being all messy and then into really, really sharp feet instead of really soft feet. The eyes, if we even like keep it close to that, all you gotta do is just add the stress lines around it. If you leave no like pupils, it's even creepier, and then you can just sink the eye into the eye socket, creating negative space. And then keeping the same concept of sharp, jagged lines will create like more jagged eyebrows. And then that's the reason that sharp teeth look aggressive and then round teeth look non-aggressive. So that's how you would distinguish something from being nice and cutesy to something that's a little bit more creepy. Using the same basic principles of just changing your line weight and the way that you draw your lines. Like line width is incredibly important. Like the way that you use your lines is so important, and very few people take the time to actually understand that too. Like people just get stuck on one style and then they're always like, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't need to draw that. I don't need to learn how to draw that, man. I already know how to do this. My style's the greatest. My style's the best. My style, blah, 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 blah. And then they wonder, like, 10 years down the line why they haven't, like, gotten any better. Like, they wonder, like, wait, how come nobody likes my stuff anymore? How come nobody does this anymore? Man, my style was so good in the 80s. My style was so good in the 2000s. Dude, like, art changes. You need to understand not how to draw a style. You need to understand how to draw art, how it's constructed. So you can take any one popular style and then just apply your own spin to it. And then it's your style again. You're just taking the other one's reference. People are funny. Let's see. Okay, so we have been talking about the face. We have been talking about why you should understand what you're drawing, how to see things in perspective. So how to draw old people and then hair. All right, so let's go over the hairline again, because it seems like that's something a lot of you guys like struggle with as well. So let's say we have a profile face. Yay, we have a normal standard size head. Okay, So now we have our mask from our side is going to look more like this. We still have to leave a gap for our nose. So our nose is going to come out of here. This is going to dictate a little bit where our nose bridge is going to go. Our nose, like wherever this crevice is, that's where your eyes should go. Okay? Wherever you see the division between your forehead line, which is this one, and your nose that comes out of here, this is where your eye should be. Now, from the profile, whenever you're drawing an eye, you still have your eyeball in your eye socket, but you're seeing it a little bit more from the side. So you wouldn't see the back of the eyeball, right? Like you only see the front part. So when you're subdividing your eye from the front, like from the profile, remember, you only see a tiny bit of the eye whenever you're drawing it, okay? A tiny bit. So you're only seeing a bit in the front. So you only have to draw 2 lines going from one side of the sphere to the other side of the sphere. From one side of the sphere to the other, but you wouldn't see the other side completely unless your eye's a little bit more angled to the side. Okay, you go around it, around your sphere, and then this gives you your eyelids, and you're set. If you're wondering where to draw the other eye, well, depending on how your face is turned from this angle, you wouldn't see anything here unless you had like a super long eyelashes, and then you would see the eyelashes because that's what's coming out of here. Okay, you wouldn't see the other eye in this angle, but you would still see the eyelashes if there was eyelashes. This is something that when I found out this and it just clicked for me, it made all my art so much better. Because now I started thinking, okay, well, the mouth isn't just an opening like this. Nah. Let's find out exactly, roughly where our mouths and how they were supposed to be drawn. Our mouths, if you look and you touch your face and you open your mouth as wide as you can, touch the outside of your face or the outside of your mouth and drag it up your face, and you'll see that it normally hits around the middle of your eye. So if we are seeing this as a 3D object, we just map a line down from our eye, down our features. So we go down around our eyeball, down our eyelid into our cheeks that are here. That's the cheek line. So however big your cheeks are going to be, they would be right here. You go around the cheek, and then you end up roughly in the area that you're supposed to have the mouth up to, like if you want to keep a more realistic proportions. So this mouth goes from this middle of this eye to the middle of the other eye. So you just map out the same thing. We learn to visualize through it, and then we draw from this side to this side, one line. From this side to this side, another line. And then you draw your lips inside those lines. Inside, not outside. Inside. And then you have your mouth. Okay, your jaw is the same concept. It goes around your face. But since the bottom of the face is a little confusing because it's not just a spherical or a box, this is what you gotta keep in mind. Okay? And this is gonna be like the $1 million thing. So if you guys actually have enjoyed what I'm teaching, you guys try to hit this little heart right here. Boom. Because that's the way I know if you guys enjoy what you like. Okay? Try to hit. Boom. When you're looking at the jaw from the front, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at something that's relatively flat in the front, which is your face, which is relatively flat. And then you have a spherical shape, which is the back part of your head. Okay? This is what you're drawing when you sketch something like this from a profile. Essentially, that's what you're drawing. Okay? When you're drawing this, this is the flat part. Now, from this part, your jaw actually hinges, and when it opens, it rotates down. It doesn't just move down, it rotates back. So you got to remember that whenever you are drawing. Because if you just draw your mouth's going straight down, it's going to look weird, like a robot. So that's why I always draw the top of the face in this shape, right? So you have the flatter side with your mask inside of that flat part. This is the break right here. Boom. The division between the angle on the front of your forehead to the back of your head is this one. Then your mask is right here, and let me map it out with color so it actually stands out. So that's your eyebrow line, your eyes. Okay? So these two shapes, a flat surface in front of a sphere, and then it's connected to a shape that is more like this. And this is a very interesting and complex area that a lot of people get wrong. Okay? So the jaw, if you just draw it going from one side of the face to the other, it's actually gonna be good. It connects right there and behind your ear. Or no, your ear comes behind your jaw. Okay? So that's going to be the mapping point of where your jaw is supposed to connect. It's gonna go behind your jaw, be underneath your cheekbone. That's why we draw the mask. Underneath your cheekbone. Okay? So your mask creates the front of your cheekbone. So you just trace the outside of it until you get to the back, and then everything in the bottom comes from underneath all this stuff. The bottom of the chin and the bottom teeth don't move, so that could be one big shape. Now it's one little tiny sphere, or however big you want your chin. A butt chin would be like a jelly bean, right? A normal chin is just kind of like a little spherical shape. And then you go into your bottom jaw, which creates these shapes. It creates the teeth because they're connected and they don't move. 2, a little space in between your teeth and your chin, which creates a little pocket that, when added with your lips, creates a shadow. Right? So when you're drawing lips, that little tiny pocket that you see down here, teeth, between that and your chin, that is created by those shapes. So the lips create a shape that goes around. It's a 3-dimensional shape, right? And it originates from the edges of the mouth. So it's like imagine like a pool noodle. That's your bottom lip, like a pool noodle coming from the edges of your lip. That's the way I see it. The upper lip, kind of the same too, but it just kind of changes a little bit depending on how your lip is. But yeah, that's how I visualize lips. That's how you get that little shadow that's underneath your lip, and why that causes that. When you're seeing it from the side, you're seeing it more like this. This little crevice right here is this area, okay? The hinge, it goes into perspective, so this is going back and then up. It's not just an L. It's a shape going back. Let's see, we have that. We have our chin. Little pocket that I talked about. Molars, that can be simplified into just a big block. And then we have the chin going up. Okay? So that's what you're looking at from the side. And then if you give it depth, and you give it the other side, it would be more like that. Okay? Because it's connecting on both sides of the skull. Boom, boom, boom. So when you're drawing your head shape, this is what you should be sketching. From the middle of the back of your ear, so you map out the middle of where your ear is going to go. Who cares about the length of your head in the back? It doesn't matter. Like, don't even worry about that yet. Just worry about mapping out all the features in the front, and then you can determine everything in the back. So once you find the place where your ear is going to go, you can draw a diadem to find the other side. All you need to know is where the bottom of the ear is. From the bottom of the ear, you can draw another 2 lines coming down. That's going to be these 2 lines. And then connect them to the front of the chin in a sphere. And now just drape your skin around it. Your cheekbones are going to be right here, right, because of your mask. So your cheekbone, you wouldn't see the side of the jaw really. You would just see the cheekbone into whatever meat you have for your chin and a little indication of your little divot for your chin. And that's how you figure out how to draw that part. When you're looking at it from different angles, let's say you have like your mouth opened a little bit. Again, we're just going to come up with a mask real fast so we can come up with the front of our face, which gives us our temples, and it gives us roughly the area where our ear is supposed to go. Perfect. Really quickly. Now let's say he's yawning, right? He's like, really open mouth. So we're going to find the bottom of our ear by creating a princess tiara or whatever you want, going around the top of our head, around our spherical shape to find the other side. And then we're going to draw that same line that we drew. The line's down, but now since we are opening our jaw, it rotates back a little bit, right? So we got to find that, and that's why perspective is so important. In this case, it's going to look like it's getting smaller because it's going into the back. It's rotating back into this perspective. So this little hinge right here goes down, and then we trace where we want our mouth to be open. So our chin. We figure out those shapes. Remember, it breaks dimension, so this is where the teeth would go. Wherever this line goes, that's where the bottom teeth go. Wherever this line goes, that's where the top other side go. That's where your teeth would go. The top teeth don't really move, so the top teeth would be just right there. You would only open your lips more, not your mouth. Like your teeth, upper teeth don't move. So now you have the upper part of your mouth. You trace it to the other side, upper part of the mouth, and then you just trace your lips going around to the other side. It will cover a little bit of the teeth, and it will cover a little bit of the inside of the mouth. But you will have a little bit more accurate depiction of what you want to create. Now, this would probably be a little bit less exaggerated than that. It would probably be like going even farther back. I would probably draw it like this. Something more like that, like pushing it back rather than just more, but that was just to more exaggerate what I was trying to. Okay. Let's see. So that's how you figure that part out. And that's when you start understanding that like that, whenever you're drawing necks from the bottom, like heads from the bottom, you'll start understanding the different components. So you'll have your chin, then you have your part going back, and then your part going up. It goes around to the other ear, right? So you can have the back of your head, and then your neck. You start figuring out things a little bit easier. And it doesn't become as hard or as daunting when you start trying to like draw really, really heavily like perspective creatures. That's extreme. Okay, let's draw a little bit less extreme. Ear. See a lot more of the bottom, chin. And then we start mapping out from here. So we understand that our mask would be going around our head, and you would only probably see your brow line. Your nose would be coming out of here from your mask, so it would probably show the bottom side. You'd probably see a lot more of the bottom lip. So you'd probably see, if you had a mustache, it'd be like right there. Yeah, I drew a mustache because the line came out messy. I don't care what you think. And then the hair would just be going around into perspective, like if I had a beard. Glasses would sit into perspective, so going up into perspective from both sides. And the eyes are the eyeballs are inside that pocket. So you would just have your eye right there. Then from there, since that's that, you can draw the rest of the head and then try to figure out if you understand where the neck muscles go and all that stuff. You start drawing it like that. If not, just imagine that it's like a tube and this shape right here is just wrapping around the tube. Right? If this is like the bottom of your neck part, like your jaw. If your neck was there, it would come out from there. That makes no sense. Hold on. Where'd I put my Post-its? Where did I put my Post-its? They ran away from me. Oh, here they are. Okay. So let's explain that part a little bit better. I don't like leaving things unexplained. So if we have our jaw, right? We have one ear over here. We have one ear over here. Whenever you're drawing the neck, from whenever you draw this shape, from the bottom where your jaw hinges, essentially the bottom of the neck shape is creating this shape in the front. And that's where your neck is going to come out from. Okay? So that shape right here, from this hinge to that other hinge, if you draw a little circular shape, that's where your trachea is going to go. That's where your neck muscles are going to come out from, that wrap around. And if you've seen the video on necks that I've done, you'll understand that a little bit better. And then when you start drawing your character, you already have everything mapped out. Okay? So that's how you figure out like how that bottom part is. As you rotate your neck up, you can take that into consideration. Hinge, hinge. Trachea is the little shape that creates that little triangle pocket. And it's pointy from the bottom, right? It goes into the chin, so it creates a point. So that's why this is a complex shape, and that's why people don't really understand it too much. You can make it super extreme and have the neck super high up, and it's going to be the same concept. Ear, ear. You create the little pocket from divot to divot, and then trachea, muscles, and then you can just stretch the neck as much as you want. If they have a really big Adam's apple, that's where the trachea comes in. That's where the little divot, comes in. But it's this little like area that's very difficult for people, and I know that because it was very difficult for me. Like get a degree or something? No, I mean, you don't have to. Like, I've never used my actual degree to get a job. Like, I got my degree in animation, which they taught me a lot of like 3D animation, but like I never ended up using that. They didn't teach us to draw. I essentially had to teach myself to draw. So it was essentially I was self-taught when it came down to drawing. The only benefit that I got from art school was learning how to use the programs and having access to equipment that I never would have even knew existed. That's the only benefit that I saw from going to art school. Oh, actually, and the networking. I still have like a bunch of like friends and stuff that helped me get a job at one point or another. People that are friends with you, want to work with you, so create contacts like that. I know a lot of awesome people in this world because of that. But networking is essentially just as easy as going to events and doing the same thing. So you don't need to go and pay $100,000 to get an education on something that's subjective. Art is subjective. You can make $1 million drawing a stick figure. You can make even more by drawing worse. It's all subjective. It's what you want to do with your art and how far you're willing to push that, right? If you're wondering if you're ready, you're ready. You just don't know your market yet. That's essentially it. Like if you can draw at any level, let's say you can draw like this. That's all you can draw. Or you can draw like this. That's all you can draw. I promise you there's a market for that. You just got to find it. And as you get better, your market abilities and your market like just expands because you are able to do more. You're always ready. You're just not looking in the right places or creating the markets that you want because you think you're not ready. Okay? You not thinking you're ready is what's holding you back. Like I've been, ever since I was drawing incredibly shitty, honestly, like maybe like 10 years ago. No, like almost immediately, the moment that I learned how to draw something, I try to learn how to sell it. And that was just like my thought process because that's just the way I was brought up. But it's, it's something that I see a lot of artists lacking. They don't have a business mindset. And I'm not saying business as in like just be money grubbing person. I'm not motivated by money by the slightest. Like, as a matter of fact, a lot of people are like, holy shit, dude. Like, if I knew this, if I did this with your artwork, I would be a millionaire. Like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Perhaps. I don't need much more than like I already get. So I'm just going to be happy. That's my mentality. Probably a really bad mentality for a person that wants to be like, like filthy rich. But no, I don't care. As long as like my needs are met and I am perfectly okay, I am perfectly fine. For people that don't have that mindset though, they normally want to make money. Those people tend to be the most successful because they end up understanding that they need to market everything they have, right? If they learn a new skill, they go ahead and they market that skill. They sell that skill. The moment that they can combine that skill with something else that make it even a more valuable product, they're going to do that because, that's the mentality you have. When you have the ability to draw something, it's already marketable because it's a very valuable thing. Like, you are an amazing human being if you can draw. Like, you are far more talented than you can even give yourself credit for. Okay? Because creating something original, creating something fun, creating something cute, creating something that expresses an emotion is an incredibly fucking hard thing to do. Sorry for the cussing, but Jesus Christ. It is an incredibly hard thing to do. And there is a reason that if given the chance to choose anything in life and money is not a problem and you have been satisfied with your success, everyone turns to art. Because that's what everyone essentially wants to do. When you retire, you start painting, you start doing your watercolors, you start doing this. When you go on vacation, you go wine painting, you go blah, 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 wine draining. And, it's everybody wants to draw cool landscapes. Like, if people were able to make money with that more often than not, it would be a career path that people were taking more serious. But since everybody sees it as a leisurely activity that you only do after you're successful, well, you kind of like just shut the door on every single person that's trying to actually like be able to do it. And if you're really, really good at it, you're freaking amazing because you have a head start on everybody that's trying to start when they're late in life. And then when they like already decided to do everything else. So what I'm saying is that you're ready. If you were waiting for a call to action, if you were waiting for somebody to tell you, hey, buddy, maybe you are ready. Here I am telling you that same thing. Okay? You're ready. You can go sell your work. I give you the full acknowledgement that you will be successful. If you push yourself out there, you will be successful. The squeaky wheel gets the damn oil. And if you aren't squeaking enough, then you're not trying enough. And I'm not saying the lack of trying is going to be like failure or success. There is an aspect of luck that nobody ever talks about. Okay? Amongst a more enormous sea of people out there that are trying to achieve the same thing that you're doing, you need to have a little bit of luck in order to be able to get noticed by the right people, to land on the right algorithm that you need to be seen. It's not always going to be easy. And even following steps that people that have been successful have saying, things change so quickly that, oftentimes we just don't have time to adjust before everything changes and then try to follow the steps of somebody else that was able to succeed from that. Okay? How do you get your big pick? Oh, I just draw more lines. I press a little harder. Like, it's all about pen pressure with ball pulling. I can get like super thin lines, almost non-existent lines. Or if I just press a little harder, I get super dark lines. That's it. It's about pen pressure, and it takes a while to develop. Luck is a small part. You practice. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, you practice and you put yourself out there so that when you do find yourself in a chance to take an opportunity, you take it, you jump on it, and you just don't look back. Like, people get very few chances in life, right? Some people don't even get a chance in life sometimes. It just happens. Like, sometimes people just don't get lucky. And, it's heartbreaking, and it does happen to a lot more people than, we wish it would. But that's just what happens. But if you put yourself out there as much, you'll have a little bit more of opportunities than a person that doesn't. And if you just happen to just work it right for those opportunities, you can create an entire career from a single opportunity. Okay, this is where my eye is going to be. So roughly, I'm going to trace my shape, cheekbone, jaw, and then roughly right there, my mouth is going to be on this side. And then I find that same spot on the other side, and that's where my mouth is going to go. So it has to go from here to here. And then from here to here is the bottom lip. So let's just make his mouth closed. So going from there to there. This case, I want to give this guy an upper lip. And let's give it like the little divot that a lot of people have. As long as I don't draw a really full lower lip rendered out, you can give nice, big, thick lips to men in just black and white drawings. With color, it's a lot easier because you just darken it up a little bit. But if you draw, a very heavy lip line on the bottom line for men, it ends up looking more feminine. So that's how you would distinguish a mouth from a guy, than from the lips of a woman. Let's see, same perspective, going back, by just closing this line off a little bit more. Okay. What pen am I using? I'm using a normal cheap Bic round stick pen, and you can get these for $50 for $2 or something like that. Nowadays it's gonna be $15. Jesus, dude. Inflation is just fucking kicking everyone's ass. It's not even funny anymore. I saw the other day, a carton of eggs was almost $15, man. That's nuts. It's gonna get really tough at some point. And I know a lot of my friends kind of live paycheck to paycheck. It's I'm terrified for them. They already barely make ends meet. Life is gonna get interesting. It's because of the avian flu. I don't know what it is, man, but that's insane. When a pack of eggs is as much as ribeyes, that's nuts. I'm lucky I'm just a single dude. I don't have families, I don't have kids, I don't have anybody to, feeding me is easy. I just eat rice and chicken. And when chicken gets expensive, I'll eat rice and something else, Spam, whatever, dude. I don't care. But my friends that have kids and my family members that have kids and stuff, Jesus, I'm terrified of the situations they're gonna have to be put in, especially if they're single income households. So I might have to start thinking of ways that I can get people to help those in need. Creating events, donating art, whatever, to just generate income for them. Whew. Yeah, it's gonna get tough for people. It sucks. Let's see. Let's draw a couple more heads to fill up this top part of the thing, and then we'll finish out the page tomorrow or tonight over on our midnight stream. If I'm not too tired, I tend to stream around midnight Pacific time, and it's normally really fun because that's when all the like weirdos come out. Let's draw a girl. I've been drawing dudes all day, so let's draw some women. All right, so we have our chin, and we'll start backwards in this one. How about that? So that way you can understand that once you figure out one spot, you can figure out the rest. Okay? So in this case, we have our ears. The bottom of our ears are going to indicate where our jaw is. We already drew our jaw. So now let's draw the pinpoint of our chin. We'll go up to our mouth, which is going to go up and around our face. I'm going to wrap it up there. A little bit above the mouth is going to be our nose cavity, and then we draw our mask from there. Okay, now we have my mask. I can have my eyebrow line. We're going to make her like going like, I'll draw a little bit through the hair, just to indicate that it's there. I'm going to draw my nose bridge, and I'm going to draw my nose. With pinups, I tend to draw them a little bit more dainty, and I just show a little bit of the bottom and a little bit of the contour of the nose. I've always loved drawing noses like that since I've seen Scott Campbell draw them like that, and I just adopted it to my own drawings. Now, from there, my mouth is going to go all the way up to my cheekbones if I want to, but not necessarily want to do that. So I know that my teeth line is this. It's not my mouth line, it's my teeth line. I'm drawing a skull, so that's my teeth line. That's so I know where roughly to draw my mouth. In this case, I'm going to draw little pouty lips that would show a little bit of the mouth, a little bit of the teeth. So pouty lips coming out of that area. My chin, the little gap in between my lips and my chin creates a shadow. And then I can map out the other side of my nose bridge since I already know how wide my nose is going to go. And I can draw my eyeballs. Now, the style that I choose to go with is just going to be reflected on the eyelids that I draw. In this case, let's go for like a sensual-ish looking character. Maybe angle their eyes a little bit, make them look a little bit more exotic. So I'm going to take the upper eyelid, I'm going to wrap it around the shape at the angle that I want. Around my eye. Give them a nice big cat eye around the eye. And then the lower eyelid goes around as well, creating a space for the lower eyelid. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to start with this initial point. Since I already drew this eye here, I know that that one's going to start right there. It's the same thing, just in opposite ends. This one, it's going to start here, and it's going to end there. Because I already drew this side. So now I just got to draw around the sphere. Around it, creating the depth that I want, and then into the cat eye, that whatever design we have on this. Okay, bottom eyelid, same thing, starts here, boom, boom, here, and just draw around the shape again. You already have your eyelid line, you already have that. It's the rest of your eyeball. Lower eyelids, if you want to give it lower eyelids, are already there if you already want them. Okay? Then we just have the character looking in whatever way we want. If you want to understand how to move the eyeballs in there, remember, this is just a little slit of an entire eyeball. So draw the eyeballs, like draw both eyeballs, looking in the direction you want. And then remove the area you wouldn't see. So in this case, the nose would be right here, covering a little bit of it. So you wouldn't see that part. And then the eyes shifted a little bit, so you would only see a little bit like that. Okay, so in this case, we have this right here. I'm going to have her looking to the side. And then I draw my other one. Now the head is a little bit too wide, I get it. The space between the side of your eye and the side of your ear, since your face is really round, it would probably be around here, more so than there. Okay, there's not that much space between the side of your face and the side of your head, or at least to your ear, especially from like a 3/4 view or a front view. There's just not. So, just don't make your jaw so big. And since I already made like a shadow here, we can make this into like a scarf. Since I already drew like something, you can always make your mistakes into something cool. Like you're sketching, remember? So it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. It's just you're practicing. And actually correcting your things immediately after you draw them, if they come out wrong, like I just did right there, is going to help me eventually not make those same mistakes again. Yeah, I'm sorry if I haven't been looking at the comments. Honestly, today I'm just excited to actually draw. So I just wanted to teach a little bit before I have to go run all my errands and shit. So we'll do one more. And then let's draw something a little bit different. We'll draw like a weird angle, okay? Like an underside angle. Okay. Whenever you're stretching and you're drawing an actual character with actual skin, remember that your jaw is not always going to be super sharp, and it's not always going to connect. So whenever you're looking up, this jaw and this skin in this area stretches. So it just maybe creates a shadow underneath. It's not going to create a super sharp line all the time. When you're drawing your ears, make sure that you're drawing them in perspective. Even if they're simple, if you see them from the bottom, you'd see a little bit more of the earlobe rather than the top. Okay, when you're drawing your eyes, let's make our mask real fast. Okay, let's give this guy the back of the head. When you're looking up and you have your mask, your eyeball is right there, right? So when you're looking from the bottom, you see a lot more of the upper eyelid. So this would have thickness. The upper eyelid has thickness. It's not just a line. The lower eyelid from this angle would not be seen really, like the thickness of it. You just see the bottom line. But your eyelids actually have thickness to them. In your eye, like your eyelashes come from that little gap. Okay, there's a little tiny thickness to this section, to the eyelid section, to this. Okay, so when you're looking at it from the bottom, you need to enhance that a little more, the same way that you would see a little bit more of the underside of the top of the ear as well. To find the other eye, you can just trace your mask, find your other eyeball, and then trace around it. And that's roughly where the other eye would be. To find where you gotta look, again, an eyeball is a globe, so just find your globe, find where you want to look, and then this guy's going to be looking down. So you're going to draw him looking down. You wouldn't see the whole side of the colored part of the eye because it would be covered by the lower eyelid. The nose, you're going to see it from the bottom. So if we map it out like a diamond again, you have the bottom part of your nose and the upper part of your nose. The mouth, If we're looking at it from that angle, let's see, bottom of the ear, and then the other one. If I want to make like a creepy, like open mouth face, that would be like the limitations of it. You'd probably see a little bit more of the upper lip than the bottom lip at this angle because it's a little extreme. The mouth is going to have to be relatively closed because my jaw is not hinged out. So I'm just going to have them looking like this. And then maybe the chin out a little bit. And little by little, you just work your way down the shape. The perspective of the teeth, the line in the teeth would go around where the teeth line would be. So if I find my teeth, chin, like cheekbone, nose cavity, teeth, go around. Okay, it'd be around here. Okay. And yeah, that's kind of how you start figuring out the angles that are difficult. And the more that you do it, like the more mistakes you make, the faster you're going to learn if you correct your mistakes. Like in this one, probably the eyelid. The eyes are a little bit too open for this angle, but whatever. Not bad for a quick example. All right, so anyways, gloves are off. Time to go eat some food. And let's just recap what we learned today, okay? So we drew eyes. We talked about the level of line work and what having sketchier lines normally means in a drawing. We try to practice with a little bit of eyes. We went into more of a lecture about how to draw eyes than I thought. We talked about the mask method and how I break it down in order for you guys to understand it a little better. How to draw in profile, how to draw a cutesy character and a creepy character with the same basic structure, how to draw the masks from the side, how to the mouth works, how lips work, how to hang your neck up, how to draw with detail, how to change your designs, how to draw women else, and how to draw really cool eyes. Whew. All right, so it's time to get off work. I need to go handle some things. I've been being messaged by Mr. Martin Young. So I hope that he understands that I was streaming. You guys have a fantastic day. I will see you guys tonight for some more drawing. Think of some topics that you guys want to ask so you guys have the ability to have control of the whole class. Hit that like button if you guys really enjoyed what I did. Follow me on my social medias. I do have books for sale. You guys can go look them up in my Instagram bio because apparently the one on TikTok sucks and it doesn't want to send people to my website. But you guys can go on my Instagram and check out like about 3,000 other posts that you guys can learn from. 3,000 or more, as well as over 120 videos on YouTube too. So there's a lot of resources for all you people trying to learn how to draw. Just saying. Have a wonderful day. You guys make my day better so much every time. I'll see you guys later. Love you.